Hey, what's up guys? I'm Steve Wells, and today I want to talk about a shoe that I just hit 50 miles in, and I did most of my 4x4x48 in, which if you haven't seen that video or you don't know what that is, go ahead and click the link up here, or I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to check that out after you're done watching this. But the shoe we're going to be talking about today is the Altra Paradigm 4.5. So whenever I first tried on this shoe, I loved it, and so I got a pair and I went for a couple runs in it, and I got really bad blisters, and so I just quit wearing it altogether, and it sat in my closet for a while. But recently I've gotten it back out and have actually been enjoying wearing this shoe, except for a few small things that have kind of ruined the experience for me. So let's get into some pros about this shoe. I am a fan of Altra in general, even though their shoes sometimes do have some shortcomings, but I really like that foot-shaped toe box that a lot of Altras have. I like lower drop shoes in general, so their zero drop platform works really well for me. Another pro about this shoe is it is relatively responsive and flexible for the amount of cushioning that it has. So I'm not going to argue that this is as responsive and flexible as the Escalante or something like that, but for how much cushion this has, I think that it is acceptable. I would say that this shoe is a little bit less responsive, but a little bit softer as well than the Hoka Arahi, which you can go watch that video too. So one thing that's kind of interesting about the Paradigm, and one thing interesting kind of about how Altra does stability shoes in general, is if you are not pronating, they don't want it to affect your gait too much, but if you are pronating, they want it to give you a little bit extra stability. So this shoe was kind of designed for longer races. Once you start getting tired, you pronate more, and kind of addressing that, so you could have one shoe that you could wear throughout the entire race and it would work well no matter what state of fatigue your feet are in. So it has this guide rail system that runs along the edge here, which we're starting to see in a lot of different shoes now, but it doesn't have like a denser foam or anything embedded into the midsole. It does, however, have these Stabila pods, is what they call them, at these 3 points throughout the shoe. And the idea behind that is, I guess as you're going down, so say you're like pronating, as your foot feels that, it's supposed to push back up against it. Whether that works or not, I have no idea, but as far as I can understand, that's the idea behind it. Another pro that I have here is, this is probably up for debate, but I think that the colors that it comes in are cool. I like this one. I do get compliments about this one whenever I'm just wearing it around, and I saw this one online and wasn't crazy about it, but ended up getting this color and I'm really happy with it. And another thing about this shoe is the durability of the outsole. We'll talk about the durability of the rest of it later, but durability of the outsole is probably, I would say, better than a lot of Altra's other shoes, just because it has more rubber on the outside here, and you're really not seeing any wear at this 50-mile mark on as far as the rubber on the outsole goes. While I have enjoyed my time running in this shoe, there are some cons with it, so let's talk about some of those. Like I said earlier, I did get some blisters whenever I was first wearing this shoe. They happened right in here, so whenever my foot came down and bent, it would pucker up here, and there's an inlay in there that was just giving me blisters every time I ran in this shoe, whether I was doing 5 miles or 2 miles. But that somehow miraculously went away. I don't know if it was a change in my feet or a change in the breaking in of the shoe, but that has not been a problem since my first couple of runs in this shoe. Another con is something that a lot of Altra shoes have a problem with, and that is the ankle and heel counter here. So really puffy and kind of wide and loose, and so it's just kind of an awkward fit. There's not an extra eyelet here, so I had to unlace one eyelet and then go back up and did a heel lock like that. It helped a little bit, but there is still a decent amount of movement on my heel. Another con is something that I rarely talk about because it's something that I rarely notice whenever I'm running in a new shoe, and that is the breathability of it. So breathability is a big deal for some people, but I just don't have a problem with the temperature of my feet. It just usually, I don't think of it. But I was definitely thinking about it whenever I was wearing this shoe. So if it's a normal, comfortable temperature outside, it's not a problem. But if it's hot outside, my feet get really hot in these. And if it's cold outside, my feet get really cold in them too. It's not that they're warm all the time and good for cold weather and not hot weather. It's just, I think it's because of maybe like the holes in here plus the knit. I don't know. But whenever it's cold, my feet are cold. Whenever it's hot, my feet are hot. Another issue I have with this shoe is, while I do like the colors that it comes in, there's no denying that it's just kind of a weird looking, ugly shoe. It's not terrible, but it's just not super attractive. And with the functionality of it, I don't know how you could do it much better, but it's just not pretty. Another con I have is with these Stabila pods. So nothing to do with the functionality of the pods themselves or anything like that. But this raised lettering that's on here is a big issue for me. Sometimes I kick myself on the opposite calf whenever I'm running, and most shoes it's kind of annoying when you do that and you might get mud on yourself, but it's not a big deal. With these shoes, because of this raised lettering that is on these Stabila pods, I've actually scratched myself and been bleeding because I kicked myself in these shoes. And while it's not that huge of a deal, it's just kind of dumb because this raised lettering is definitely not necessary at all. And now for the biggest con of all, the one that we've all been waiting for. Let me know down in the comments if you have a pair of these and if you are experiencing this or if you aren't. But I am 50 miles into wearing this shoe and they're completely falling apart. So I don't know if it's a problem with just my individual shoe that I have, or if it is a problem with this shoe in general. So if you look inside this shoe, there's an inlay here, the same one that was causing blisters for me. Actually on the opposite side as the one causing blisters for me, but it's completely tearing out. That's supposed to be glued in, and it's just ripping out. And there's also material here that is glued in on this one, so it's obviously supposed to be glued in, but on this side it's tearing out, and on this shoe it's tearing out on both sides. So like, if you look in here, I should not be able to put my fingers in underneath there. That should all be glued down. So that's kind of upsetting. This is a relatively expensive shoe at $150. And I would expect to get more than 50 miles out of them before they started falling apart. I mean, these are definitely still wearable at this point, but not something that for that price I should be having to deal with. So overall, I really like this shoe. I've enjoyed my time in it. I'm going to continue running in it probably, but it does have that durability issue that is a serious problem for me, and I hope they fix in the future. If you have a pair of these, definitely please leave a comment down below and tell me how the durability of yours is, if it's just mine or if it's all of them that are falling apart on the inside. For now, I hope this video was helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next week.